when we take public comments, we have IT here with us this morning to help us out. We're going to ask folks to call in and leave a voicemail to leave that public comment, and then we'll have those played for the board to listen to. And again, just for folks watching, because we are live streaming now, the number to call is area code 269-226-6573. Again, that's 226-6573. And if you will, state your name and where you're from, and then what you're wishing to comment on, because we do have both a meeting of the Economic Development Corporation and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. Well, we're going to get going this morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the January 21st, 2021 meeting of the Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors for the City of Kalamazoo. We're going to have a call to order, and just a reminder to everyone that kindly state your name and your present location, city, county, state. Jamie?
Thank you. I'm going to start with Director Bolton.
Present, City of Kalamazoo, County of Kalamazoo, Nathan Bolton.
Director Brown. Director Escamilla.
Jim Escamilla, City of Kalamazoo, County Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Dr. Gula.
Good morning. Present, Kalamazoo County, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Director Hess.
Here, Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Here in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Director Novotny.
Good morning. Here, present in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Kalamazoo County as well.
Chair Owens.
Good morning. Present from Alamo Township, Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
Director Bogan.
Good morning. City of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo County, State of Michigan.
Director Bogan. Director Middleton.
Present, City of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo County, State of Michigan.
And then before we move on, just a note, since again we are streaming, if you would turn your camera off, thinking about guests, developers who are here to present, if you could click stop video, and while you're not presenting, that helps keep the faces on the screen smaller for those who are viewing. And then when it's your turn to present, you can just click that video on, and then we'll be able to chat with you for your part of the agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to excuse any absent members at this time.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Next up is the adoption of the formal agenda. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, Jamie?
There are none.
Seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the formal agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next under our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of November 19th, 2020. I'm assuming everyone has had an opportunity to review those. Were there any corrections, additions, or deletions to those minutes? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll be seeking a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Under new business, staff and applicant presentations for the City of Kalamazoo marijuana business permit renewal application pursuant to Chapter 20B of the Kalamazoo City Code. Jamie?
Mr. Mitchell and his staff have been working with another medical marijuana business for their permit renewal over the last month or so. And in your packet, you saw a memo that described the business and the different approvals that they were seeking through staff. I do want to report that we heard from the fire marshal, and they do have a fire inspection scheduled for tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So any approval or recommendation from this board for the city clerk to renew that permit would be conditional upon that inspection if you guys choose to move forward in that direction. I don't know if Mr. Mitchell, if you have anything to add or if you'd like to introduce the business and their representatives this morning.
Yes, pretty much just real quick on the comments on the inspections. It was a good example this month with this company because of the short notice of getting the information that why we're trying to do an overall yearly calendar. So we can do hopefully the inspections and a lot of the documentation the month before the meeting because it gets a little stressful and a little tight to make sure we get everything done for the EDC meetings. And it'd be good to have, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later, EDC review committee for marijuana to also have discussion and give more information. So before the meetings a lot sooner for the committee to be aware and inform the EDC board of any changes, any issues that are concerns. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully we'll fine tune this process to be a little bit faster. But we do have the owner, manager, and another representative from the company. Company is 22233 North Burdick Street Incorporated. And they are in operation. They're in the process of probably reopening because of COVID-19. But I'll let them introduce themselves. I think they're all, back. And they can talk about the company and what they're planning on doing and be able to answer any of your questions as board members. I think Paul and who else is with you, Paul?
We should have Jason Christain and Ravi Singh, one of the owners. Good morning.
If you want to go ahead and give us your cameras for the presenters at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I should be on. Good morning, everybody. Paul Weisberger on behalf of 2233 North Burdick, Inc. My address is 1100 West Maple Road, Troy, Michigan. We're obviously happy to be part of the Kalamazoo community. To date, the business has invested through both the real estate acquisition and the build out approximately $2.1 million into the project. We have about 50% of the employees that we've hired are from the Kalamazoo proper. The other 50% are from the Kalamazoo area. To date, and it's not been a long run because we didn't get open until the second week of September, as this is the first year that we were able to build out and operate. We've got no violations from the state or the city. There have been no crimes committed on premises as it relates to the business. We've had no employee theft. We are obviously, to say, crippled by the COVID pandemic. Specifically, we viewed this as really a campus location or very close to a campus location. And with the school being diminished with the number of students, that's had a detrimental effect on the business. It's the intent to reopen, I believe, within the next 60 days. As part of that reopening, there's going to be there's an evaluation going on the setup inside, and we may be switching from the current model, which Jason Christine can talk about, to more of a deli style, meaning you meet the bud tender one-on-one and get educated. Jason will be able to touch upon where we plan to provide some funds to the local community and some of the needs that we've noticed, in particular the homeless population, and Jason can address that, as well as our education plan. But with that, if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to Jason to touch upon those two items. But again, we hope when we can get through this pandemic that we feel very confident especially with the money we've invested, that this will be a great location and we'll be here for years to come, hopefully. Jason, if you don't mind stepping in right now.
Jason is connecting currently.
Oh,
Yeah,
there must be issues. Well, I'll pretend like I'm Jason for a second. I think Jason would have said that we've reached out to Open Door, which I believe is a nonprofit that deals with providing assistance to homeless men. And that also Jason, I think, was going to touch upon starting to conduct, when we reopen, monthly education seminars that we could provide at the store within the lobby area. We have quite a significant lobby area there. Unfortunately, if Jason jumps on, he can add to that, but
I'm sorry, excuse me. It looks like he is on. You may need to unmute. Nope.
I think it's showing his audio is unavailable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like his audio's not.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Jason? Uh-oh.
hey, Jason.
Can you hear me?
Here we go.
Yeah.
So Paul is correct. I've reached out to Open Doors in Kalamazoo. They've agreed to a partnership later on this year where we work with them. They facilitate a employee training program. They also have 7 men and 7 women that live with them that are experiencing homeless problems. If you don't have a high school diploma, they provide GED training. They have the expectation, if you have a job, that you live there for free and you save 1/3 of your money. It sounds like a great partnership. If they have a candidate in which would fit our store, we'd be happy to interview them and employ them as well. They've been very gracious to us, and we plan on working with them in the future for community development. Can you hear me?
Yes, anything else to add?
Just to add to what Paul said, while we dealt with COVID, so we originally set up the store in an Apple style model, and people had the free will to roam around. We've kind of redesigned or we're planning on redesigning the store where there's more face-to-face interaction, and due to the capacity restraints on the store due to COVID, we think that it might help people kind of filter in and out a little bit better. So that's a part of our redesign and relaunch, is redesigning the store as well, to meet the capacity restraints that are currently on us and have been on us since last year.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Antonio, anything further on this?
No.
Directors, any questions or comments? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the approval of the recommendation to the city clerk to renew the marijuana business permit renewal application for 2233 North Burdick, Inc., doing business as Kalamazoo. That's cute. I will be looking for a motion to approve a recommendation to the city clerk to renew this permit renewal application after discussion.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you, Kevin. Discussion among the directors? Nothing?
Excuse me, Director Owens, my
Yes,
apologies. I was
yes,
trying to unmute before we went to this portion, but I can still ask it now. I just would like clarification from the owners, the pieces with Open Door and so on and so forth. Is that part of your diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy, or just getting clarification on that?
Yes, it is. On top of that, we're looking for a diverse group of people that we hope we can recruit from Michigan Works as well. I talked to Antonio the last time 3 weeks ago, and he suggested that. We've also reached out to them to see if they would be willing to work with a marijuana business. They told us that they would check into that with some of their senior leadership. But Michigan Works and Open Doors is a part of our diversity plan, yes, for recruitment.
Thank you so very much for that. And one other point of clarification, in terms of your upper level management staff, how diverse is that makeup?
Well, when we were open, we did have some diversity there. Our general manager of the store was a white male, but we did have some diversity as far as having a Latino, Hispanic young lady as the assistant manager, and we also had a very diverse group. We had 5 out of the 20 people that worked there were African American. 3 would consider themselves an alternative lifestyle. We had people as old as 60 years old working there. We also had 4 people of Hispanic heritage working there as well. So our goal is to represent the community in which we're operating in. And I think when we were open, that's what we did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Griffin. Any other comments or questions from directors? Seeing none, we do have a motion and we do have support at this time. If there's no further discussion, could we please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Bolton.
Yes.
We don't have Director Brown with us. Escamilla,
Yes.
Gula,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Novotny,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Thank you, directors. Thank you, presenters. That passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Of course, you're welcome.
You guys have a good day.
Thank you, you too. We're moving on to number 3, folks, under new business. Adoption of a resolution designating a marijuana business permit renewal review committee. After discussion, we will be looking for a motion to adopt a resolution designating a marijuana business permit renewal review committee. Jamie?
Yes, so we have actually 2 resolutions on the agenda this morning, which have to do with the EDC assigning or allowing for some committees to form. And this first one is so that some of this interaction with the renewal permits that you're going to be getting throughout the year, more once we have recreational marijuana on board and through their first year. And so staff was recommending that a committee get formed that can meet in the interim between your meetings to sort of vet and review the applications, to have this conversation with the businesses. This allow for probably more dialogue and more time to be spent with the applicants. And then I know Antonio and his staff is looking at, trying to work with these businesses to be able to provide you all with more information, like videos and things like that. So again, information that'll be handled really well with a community or a committee. And so that's what you have in front of you. According to our bylaws, Deputy City Attorney Cherry mentioned that we need to be, the board needs to be using a resolution to form those committees. So that's why you're seeing that in front of you this morning.
Thank you, Jamie. Anything else? Antonio, that you had to add?
Yeah, just as Jamie was saying, the whole idea of the committee is to have more discussion, more detail, more information, because we have, as everyone knows, we have literally two meetings that have to adhere to in the morning. This will give us some more flexibility for more discussion, more information, more feedback, and we can even invite the marijuana owners to those meetings to answer additional questions before that. The whole idea hopefully would be to have these a month or a month and a half before the recommendation of approval. That committee would make that recommendation as well as staff with additional comments as necessary.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the explanation. Any comments, questions from directors? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
We do need a roll or oh, I'm sorry, we don't. We need a voice vote. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, this carries. Thank you, everybody. The next is related. The adoption of a resolution designating an ad hoc committee to review applicants for open economic development corporation positions and to serve on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. After our discussion on this item, we will be looking for a motion to adopt a resolution designating an ad hoc committee to review applicants for open EDC positions and to serve on the BRA. Jamie?
So same one here. We're looking for essentially a nominating committee for new board members. We have for a long time operated, the board has operated with 11 members and we're down to 10. So we have a vacancy that we're looking to fill. I did send around a flyer for all of you. If you want to share that with your contacts, individuals you think would, be interested in voluntarily serving on the board and might be a good fit and provide more perspective for this board, pass those along. We'd like to take applications at least through the end of the month. If you know folks who want to apply, let me know if that, application is going to be rolling in, or, we can probably accept those through the beginning of February. I think right now we have probably a half a dozen, and then some of the other boards in my department have also been sharing individuals who maybe, didn't get selected for another board, giving them the opportunity to look at this one as well. And so then I'd like to be able to convene that committee in February to start looking at those applicants and decide what interviews you all would like to do, and then bring a recommendation forth to the entire board.
One thing I'd like to add is that per the bylaws, you can go as low as 9, as high as 13 members. So you're not limited to 11. So if this body decides to have 12, you can have 12 or 13. So just so you know.
Thank you, Attorney Cherry. Any other comments, questions for Jamie or Richard? Seeing none, I would like to entertain the motion as described prior to now.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes. The next item under our new business is the adoption of the 2021 meeting schedule of the Economic Development Corporation. I believe that those have been provided to us, Jamie.
Yes, the last page of the agenda packet included a schedule. The schedule mirrors the BRA meetings, which are monthly through the end of the year. I know staff is still working on exactly what the review schedule for medical marijuana permits is going to look like. Now that we have a subcommittee or a committee that can look at those, we thought it would just make the most sense to plan for a meeting every month. And when there is no business for that board, we'll just cancel that meeting. And this is what we've done in the past for a lot of years.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Looking for a motion to adopt this 2021 meeting schedule of the EDC.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you, Kyle and Nate. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, that carries. Thank you. On to new, on to old business. Do we have any old business, Jamie?
Staff has none to bring forward.
Anything from directors? Seeing none. On to communications and announcements. Anything staff has to share? Seeing none, we can open it up to citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments?
Yes, we have one citizen comment. One moment while I queue that up for you.
Thank you.
and I'm a resident in the city of Kalamazoo. I'm calling this morning to ask the BRA to commit itself to being an anti-racist organization. I applaud the city of Kalamazoo and city staff for making this public commitment, and as an extension of the city, a body that is entrusted with public assets, I challenge the BRA to do the same. If you look at neighborhood maps in the 1930s, the entire area between Burdick and Gall Road and the neighborhoods immediately to the west and east were redlined. Redlining is a set of official federal, state, and local policies that denied or approved financing for homeowners according to how many Black people lived in an area. The land you are now holding on the north side was taken from Black people through deliberate legal means. In 1937, more than 1,500 people lived and owned property in this area. We all know what happened over the decades with white flight and disinvestment in core city neighborhoods and ongoing manifestations of legal and illegal racism in America. Poverty grew, housing went into despair, and entire blocks were demolished. You can pick any abandoned plot in the city where Black people lived and find a similar story. I've studied the history of the Brownfield Board, reviewing notes from as far back as 2003. I learned that leadership of the BRA has been dominated by wealthy white men with immediate connections to real estate management and development companies. Over the past few decades, the considerable portion of land deals have gone to these companies, namely Plaza Corp, Nomi, Traystar, and their subsidiaries. We can now add Zeward LLC onto that list. Millions of dollars worth of projects. NY wrote in 2011 that BRA land was being sold at about 75% reduction in market rate. The public foots the bill for environmental cleanup, and then your companies profit from the tax breaks. These addresses you are talking about are not blank slates, rubble devoid of history. 315 East Frank Street. That was someone's home, where their kids played. Butler Court, Parsons Street, East North Street, that was a neighborhood. Every segment of our community needs to commit itself to the work of racial justice. Board members, you can do the right thing. You can choose to make this land a place for Black ownership and Black wealth and homes. You can put the future success of Black families above the needs of private white-owned companies. There are many ways to do development, and you can choose to support building that closes the wealth gap and works towards making our city whole. Thank you. My name is Emily Demarest, and I'm a resident.
That is the end of public comments.
Thank you so much, Ms. Demarest, for your comments. I'm sure they're appreciated amongst us all. Next, we will move on to directors' comments. Any directors care to share anything this morning? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Director Owens. I would like to call to order the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board of Directors meeting dated today, January 21st, 2021. This meeting is being conducted electronically in order for members, staff, and public to comply with the emergency order under MCL 333.2253, which is the gathering prohibition and mask order issued by Robert Gordon, Director of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services on October 29, 2020. We will start with a call to order. If I may ask you to also state your city, state, and county that you are currently present in.
Chair Bolton.
Please.
Yeah, we'll begin with Chair Bolton.
Present, City of Kalamazoo, Michigan, County of Kalamazoo.
Director Brown. Director Escamilla.
Present. City of Kalamazoo, County of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Director Gula.
Present, Kalamazoo County, Kalamazoo City, Michigan.
Director Hess.
Here, Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Here in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Director Novotny.
Here in the city of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
Director Owens.
Hello, good morning. Coming from Alamo Township, Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
Director Bogan,
Jamari Bogan, City of Kalamazoo, County of Kalamazoo, State of Michigan.
Director Middleton,
Present, City of Kalamazoo, County of Kalamazoo, State of Michigan.
Thank you. At this time, if I may have a motion to excuse the absent members.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. I'm asking everyone to respond in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of the formal agenda. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review that. Are there any changes to the agenda?
there are no changes.
If there being none, if I may have a motion to approve the formal agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor respond with aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the meeting on December 17th, 2020. Are there any corrections or deletions or discussion of the agenda, of the minutes? Seeing none, if I may have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 17th, 2020.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Seeing none, we will move on to new business. Number one is approval of purchase agreement between HMG Navigation and Planning, LLC, and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for sale of parcel at 707 Northwest Niche Avenue for a mixed-use redevelopment project. I believe there's a presentation.
Yes, this morning we have with us Miss Gwendolyn Hooker, who is with HMG Navigation and Planning, and she's going to tell us more about the project in general and more about Hope Through Navigation, which is the nonprofit organization working to redevelop both this property at 707 Northwest Niche and then also in partnership with the property. I'm going to miss the address. It's Northwest Niche. It's directly across the intersection. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen and giving you a map to look at here. All right, I think that's popping up now. So the parcel we're looking at today and the Brownfield Authority has an opportunity to support this project overall is here in the northwest corner of the intersection at Northwest Niche and North Street. And then the other property I mentioned, the Brownfield Authority has sold to the Northside Association for Community Development. And so that's here across the intersection in the southeast corner. And you can see the concept plan here. And again, I'll let Ms. Hooker talk about the project as a whole. But the current land use here is, vacant lots, and what's being proposed is mixed use. So there will be some small homes built on the property, 3 on each parcel, and then there's going to be some commercial space or some wraparound services to help support the programming here at the site. To align with the Brownfield Authority's purchasing policy or sales policy, the property discount is being extended here. It's up to 100% because it is 100% affordable housing. And the purchase price we're recommending is $100 since the city doesn't have the ability, or the BRA doesn't have the ability to give land away for free. So for that price of $100, we would sell this parcel here with the understanding that it would be developed for the purposes that Gwen is going to talk about today. In addition, so this is about 1/4 of an acre in size. The city actually received the property from the state in 1998, and then it was conveyed to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority in 2000, and it has been here vacant, not on the tax rolls. The estimated the estimated value of the property from the assessor's office was somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000, which would then be discounted, like I said, according to your policy. I know the development group here, the partnership has been working with city attorney's office to negotiate a purchase agreement, and they've signed that and they're ready to move forward with the project. I'm going to let Gwen step in here and tell us about how their fundraising efforts are going and what their schedule looks like, and overall more about the project. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
I'm glad we noticed that before I got too far into it. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so very much for extending the opportunity to come and talk to you briefly about the Tiny Houses of Hope pilot project. My name obviously is Gwendolyn Hooker, and I currently am in the role of the CEO of Helping Other People Exceed Through Navigation, Hope Through Navigation. And I am also the owner of HMG Navigation and Planning. And so what we are setting out to do is to actually provide affordable housing in an area to a population that's most impacted by the population that we serve. And so if I could, I'm going to just talk briefly about Helping Other People Exceed, Hope Through Navigation, just to kind of give you a outline of the work that we do. And then I'll kind of go more into the tiny house project. So Hope Through Navigation, we provide individuals detoured in life by addiction, substance abuse, or homelessness due to the above noted factors. And so we navigate folks to housing, employment, education, and overall self-sufficiency is our ultimate goal. And those things are depicted very intentionally in our logo that outlines exactly why we do what we do and who we're trying to help. And so that's what Hope Through Navigation does. And we've been doing that since 2015, serving folks in North Side neighborhoods, East Side neighborhood, my neighborhood, Edison neighborhood. I'm a longtime resident of Kalamazoo County. I live on the North Side, and I have been working in nonprofit for about, without giving too many of my secrets away, but for about 30 years, I've been working in around nonprofit, and especially serving populations that are most marginalized and most oppressed. And so our target population, as I said, individuals and families recovering from substance use disorder, imprisonment, homelessness, discrimination, and immigration. It's a large umbrella, and how that intersects is that most everyone that you're going to run into has one of those four things. And so it's a heavy lift, but we are up for the task, and we are very happy to be able to serve in the North Side neighborhood currently. So as we started serving our folks, we started realizing a trend, and most of the population that we were serving, at least 75% of them were having problems obtaining housing. When we originally set out on this journey, it was never our intention to go into housing, although once we got hit with the fact that due to biases, discrimination, racism, people would not rent to the population that I serve. And so I started to look for ways to kind of alleviate that barrier. And I started researching. I found a project in Detroit, Michigan, the Tiny House project in Detroit, that is a part of the Cass Community Social Services nonprofit headed by Reverend Faith Fowler. We invited her to come. She had just released a book. She did a book signing at the Foundry about 2 years ago. And then we took a trip to Detroit, looked at the outlay of the land. And most of the people that went on that trip are currently steering committee members for the Tiny Houses of Hope pilot project. So we had a model. We chose the tiny houses because it's an effective way, it's a quick way to get people into houses. These homes can be turnkey ready at $45,000, $50,000. They can be built within 3 days. And it was really a way to, try to streamline people as quickly as we could into homes, which is what was the deficit that we were looking at. So with many of the folks that went to this trip, came to the book signing, we started to develop a plan. And the plan that we really looked at is, where did we want to put these houses? I knew that I wanted to put them in the neighborhood that was most marginalized. Looking at the demographic of the North Side, it's comprised of, it is the first largest area where you have the population that we serve. So when you're looking at substance use disorder and you're looking at people with criminal backgrounds, the North Side is the area that has the most concentrated population. And so we started looking at where. And that's when we decided that, because we were already working on a plan for the North Side Culture and Business District, we really wanted it to be in that zone. And so that's exactly where both of these parcels that Jamie talked about are located. They're located in the newly established North Side Culture Business District. They are in alignment with the overall Imagine Kalamazoo plan, and they also align with the North Side Neighborhood Plan. And so that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been working on. When you start talking about housing, it is the foundation for self-sufficiency and security. When you really look at the population that we serve specifically, we know that if we can get people into homes, coming home from prison or coming home from treatment, it lowers the rate of recidivism and the likelihood of relapse by 72%. And so that's what really laid the groundwork of why the housing component was so important. And that is basically what brings us to date. The North Side Association for Community Development, headed by Maddie Jordan Woods, is our fiscal sponsor, as well as our project developer. And she is working and developing the other corner that we're not talking about today. And we, HMG, is heading up the 707 parcel, and that is considered the phase 2 of this tiny house project. And so we are coming to you this morning I'm coming to you this morning on behalf of the Tiny Houses of Hope Steering Committee to ask and explain some of the things that we would like to do on this parcel. This parcel has been vacant for many, many years. And we really want to support the affordable housing that we know is extremely needed, especially right now with COVID-19, the release of so many folks coming home from prison. And we really want to be able to, start working on developing this parcel simultaneously as Miss Maddie Jordan Woods is developing the other corner. So essentially we would end up with 6 tiny houses on different pieces of land. Both would be centrally located in part of the same services that Hope Through Navigation provides, which is wraparound services. So yeah, I think that I'm gonna stop there. If folks, I'm happy to answer any questions. I probably went a little bit quickly, but I was not sure how much time I had. So I wanted to get as much information as I could, and then just kind of field questions if folks had any. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share.
Gwen, thank you for describing that project. It's a fantastic project. I feel like you could do a better job of it than I could. I did provide some of that detail in the memo to the board. I thought one other piece of information would be useful for them. Thank you for pointing out the alignment and close work that you've done with the neighborhood association, but also the new cultural business district. And then I just wanted to point out that the rents here they're in a very low AMI, so they're very affordable. They're looking at units that are about 300 square feet and about $1 per square foot. So we're looking at a monthly rent of about $300, and that puts them in, for our county, the 30% area median income rental rate. And that's all I had to add.
Thank you.
Thank you also, Gwen. Affordable housing is definitely something that we continue to see the need for. Are there any questions by the directors?
No question.
I don't have a question. Sorry, Director Owens, I don't have a question. I have a comment. I'm really proud of the work that you're doing. It's long overdue, but I'm very proud that you've taken this on. We've been watching this for a while. It's not the first time we've had face-to-faces with you, but it's a tremendously important project, especially in that particular part of our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying so.
Yeah, Nate.
Yeah, go ahead, Director. Yes.
I just want to say thank you. Being in the housing industry, this is extremely needed, and it's awesome to see these creative type solutions coming to the board. I know infill housing and on the north side is just a tough thing to tackle. Building new, but this offers a great solution. I'd like to see this continue and people look at your project and jump on board. And the one question I would ask is, as part of this service or the navigation, do you guys have any tools for educating people on home ownership or what that would take to help them further their goal of home ownership?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Director Hess. And we do. So I didn't go into a lot of our partners, although we have many, one of which is the Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing, who will be, so the biggest thing about, one of the unique things about us is that we're going to provide on-site wraparound services to folks where they don't have to leave. They can come up to the wraparound building and get the presentations, get the information. And Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services is one of those folks that will come in and do the home ownership piece, as well as help people with their credit. Urban Alliance is going to help people get jobs and serve them. Community Action Agency is going to provide the first month's rent and deposit for folks so that they can get in without having to worry about saving up money and doing this and doing that. There's so many pieces to this puzzle, and the community, the nonprofit world especially, have really stepped up and really made commitments to actually work, hand in hand with us so that we can really provide full wraparound services and give people the best opportunity to succeed. And so that's an awesome question. The long-term goal is to have 6 tiny houses and 6 tiny hubs throughout Kalamazoo, south side, east side, north side, west side. And all providing those same kinds of wraparound services, but having smaller, intimate settings, so people are actually getting the individual needs that they have. And there will be an opportunity for folks to purchase these homes over a certain amount of time. And so that's a great question. The model that Cass Community Action Agency is a model of home ownership. That's something that we didn't model exactly, just because the population that we have chosen, is not really home ownership ready per se, but our job is really getting them in a position that if they want to purchase a home, that they're able to do so long-term. That is one of our overarching goals. So thank you so much for that question. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen.
And then Gwen, there's going to obviously be a high demand for these tiny homes. What's the process or procedure for choosing the people that will be able to occupy these homes?
Yeah, so it's what we wanted to do was have a low to no barrier access with a housing model first. And so you're absolutely right. There's not going to be enough tiny houses, even when all of the ones in Kalamazoo are made. It's a first come, first serve. The main 2 requirements is that you have to be clean for at least 1 year to be able to move into the property, and you have to have income. You have to have an income that's suitable to be able to afford the rent, because they're not free. You have to pay the rent going in. And so besides those 2 requirements, it's just a matter of when we get the applications, if you're clean, if you have a criminal background, and if you've been clean for a year or more, you're eligible. And we're just going to go down the list, and the first 6 people that we have, those are the people that are going to move.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Director.
Director Bogan here. I just want to say, Gwen, I'm excited about your project. Me and Maddie have talked about it so many times. When she gets something that she loves, she gets excited about it. And so I'm excited for you, wishing you great success, and let me know how I can help the people that you house get work in the construction trades. Me and Maddie are working on that, so just let me know.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you're as amped up as I am.
Any additional questions?
Yes, I don't have any questions. I'm going to echo what my colleagues have already said. Gwendolyn Hooker, I am so, yes, all of that. I am beaming right now. I think the community really, really needs to pay attention to this and what this means. To have a woman, someone who has overcome, someone who lives in the community, place this housing right in this community it's amazing. And it's something that we don't see very often. It's something that should be lifted up. It's something that should be completely embraced. And I just think it's beautiful. You know, as a housing advocate, I'm absolutely in love with, you know, finding the solutions that we need to get our people taken care of. And that's exactly what you did. And I remember, I want to say it was either 18 or 17 when I first started hearing about the project. So this has been years in the making. And in spite of everything, in spite of COVID, in spite of all of this, you have continued on. So I'm so proud. I'm so happy for you, and any supports that we can offer in this, we definitely want to be able to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Griffin. I appreciate that. I remember inviting you to the Foundry when Faye Fowler came, and people, you know, there wasn't a lot of cheerleaders at that time for this project just because of the population that we had intentionally chose to make this available for. And Vice Mayor Griffin was one of those people that said, you know what, do it, go for it. People need this, and you're the person that can make it happen. And I needed that kind of boost because, you know, it was an uphill battle for a while because, you know, people wanted to give me the money for the project, but they wanted it to be for not the population that needed it. So I'm so grateful for the folks that have kind of taken this ride with me and that have been kind of rooting me on when I bumped into obstacles and telling me, you know, how to get over them, how to get around them, how to get to the next step. And I have to shout out, you know, Rebecca Kick, who, you know, was one of the people in the very, very beginning that said, you know what, I love the ideal. Anything that we can do, we will, you know, I will try to help you make it happen. And so and those are the folks that really, you know, gave me the inspiration and the motivation to know that, you know, I wasn't just, you know, dreaming too big, that it was a tangible item. And we are closer now than we've ever been, in spite of COVID-19, in spite of the civil unrest, in spite of all of the other things that 2020 has thrown at us. We are still steadily moving forward. And I am just grateful for the support that I've received and really, really looking forward to actually getting these houses up and getting people into these homes. So thank you so very much.
Thank you again, Gwen. And it's great to see your passion. I really love that. Thank you. If there aren't any additional questions at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the purchase agreement between HMG Navigation and Plan.
So moved.
Support. It's been moved and supported. All in favor, please respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote. I apologize. I apologize. This is a roll call vote. You're going to get your chance individually. I apologize. Jimmy, if we may have a roll call vote, please.
Bolton.
Got a little excited there.
We'll start with you, Chair Bolton.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Escamilla. Do we have Director Escamilla? Gullo.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Novotny.
Yes.
Owen.
Yes.
Bogan.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It has been voted and passed. Thank you again, Gwen. We'll move on to item number 2, which is a public hearing for the 400 Rose Phase 2 Brownfield Plan for the redevelopment project located at 423, 427, and 429 South Park Street, and 314 and 234 West Cedar Street. I believe there'll be a presentation.
Yes, so I'm going to start out again with some of the basic information about the property and project, but we have developers from the team. They're from AVB and Hinman, and they're going to be able to tell us more about the project. I'm going to start here with a map. So if you'll give me a moment to share my screen. Okay. So the project we're talking about is 400 Rose Phase 2. Here the map will pop up. You may be familiar with the Phase 1 project. I know the Brownfield Authority was involved in a Brownfield plan on this portion, and so you see that in blue here on the map. We're talking about an area between downtown and Vine neighborhoods. So we're at West Lovell, Rose Street to the east, Cedar Street to the south, and then South Park Street to the west here. And so this is Phase 1 in blue, and Phase 2 is going to be along Cedar Street and the parcels here to the south. So you're going to see a very similar apartment complex going up in this area as well. Overall, let me pull up my notes. The project is comprised of multiple parcels that have been all acquired by the developer. And the project is going to be similar in size and scope, as I mentioned. Well, let me start here with the parcels. So it's 423, 427, 429 South Park Street, and then 314 and 234 West Cedar Street, all owned under the same LLC now. And the proposal here is mixed use development, primarily residentials. There's going to be 140,000 square feet, 500 of which will be new commercial space at the street level along Cedar. In total, it's going to be 91 market rate apartments and 10 apartments dedicated to workforce housing. And in total, with both phases, it's adding 196 structured parking spaces to this area near downtown. It aligns, the project overall aligns with the master plan by providing new housing opportunities. It's in a very walkable area and close to large employers and also transit hubs. So helping us, advance public transit and more walking, less vehicles, hopefully, in the area. And then the project's also similar to Phase 1, going to be seeking LEED certification. So that's leadership in energy and environmental design. So it'll be a very sustainable building. Phase 1, I believe, earned LEED Gold status. And so they're going to be looking for something very similar here. And then also the benefit of infill in this area is that they're able to kind of promote the use of existing infrastructure, so reducing the impact then on city stormwater, sanitary, and water resources, and building new or extending out that infrastructure. Overall, the capital investment here is $25 million, and the estimated expenses for eligible activities, so brownfield eligible activities, including demolition, site preparation, infrastructure improvements, and environmental activities, is estimated to cost up to $6.7 million. When we evaluated the project against the authority's incentives policy, the project qualified for up to 25 years of tax increment revenues. And so over that 25 years, our estimate is that the project would be the developers would reimburse just under 4.5 million in TIF reimbursement. So it wouldn't fill the whole 2.7 million in eligible activities, but it would be able to cover a portion of those. And so for the full brownfield plan that was included in your packet, it's, like I said, 25 years of reimbursement to the developer, and for the BRA administrative expenses, you'll be getting those captured and paid throughout that term. And then there'll be an additional 5 years, making a total of 30 years, but those last 5 years will be captured to the local brownfield revolving funds. I'm going to let the developers give us a speak to us a little bit about the project. We have Greg Dobson here, and then I think we have Kurt Ardema as well, and Rich McDonald.
Yes, good morning. Greg Dobson here, and Kurt Ardema is part of our team at AVB, and Rich McDonald is runs the Hinman Company, which is our partner in both phase 1 and the second phase of the 400 Rows development. So let me start out by thanking all of you for volunteering all your time this morning. Every time I come to one of these meetings, I realize what a commitment it is. So I'll try to make my comments succinct, but thank you for your time. We do appreciate your efforts to make our city better. I would also like to thank city staff. We, as Jamie very well explained, this is the second phase of a 2-phase project. And owing to the experience that we had with the first phase, we started very early in our engagement with city staff. So Jamie, Rebecca, Christina, Bobby Durkee, Fire Marshal Brooks, all the engineers, those conversations started in March of last year and have been ongoing. And I think those conversations are always challenging, but at the same time, I think in the end, it yields better development. And we at the Hinman Company, their slogan is to make things better, and our mantra at AVB is to build something better. And I think this process does result in better buildings and better development. So my thanks to all the city staff for helping us get to this point with a project that really takes into account all sorts of important things. If I could, I'm going to try to share my screen for a moment, but the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Let me see here, Greg, if I can.
What I thought I'd do as soon as we're able is just share a couple brief pictures of 400 Rows.
Greg, I'm not seeing the option to make you host right now.
Okay.
Not sure if someone from IT can help us. Or if you want to, I don't know how much trouble it is to send them to me. Might not be worth it.
I'll talk through it. I think probably most everybody has walked by our development, and I guess Rich put on his background a view, so you have an idea. But what I wanted to do is, because this is a 2-phase development, I wanted to talk about the similarities between the first phase and the second phase, so that you can envision what the second phase would look like. But you mentioned,
Greg,
yeah.
Greg, sorry to interrupt. It looks like you should have the ability to share now, if you want to try that one more time.
Oh, I can. Excellent. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully you are now seeing
$31 million.
Yep, this looks.
Yep.
Okay, great. Now you're looking at a picture of the first phase of 400 Rows. I show it to you just to give you a sense for how the building sits upon the street, the materials that we're using, because the metal, wood look, glass, balconies, etc. will all be similar. So it gives you a real good idea of what is going on with in terms of the aesthetic. Just remind you to give you again a sense for how this building is right up on the street. It's 4 stories tall over structured parking, which is underground. The new building, which will be back in this western portion, as Jamie explained, I would like to mention that these 3 houses have been demolished, and my colleague Kurt Ardema went to great lengths on behalf of our companies to relocate these houses. all the way down to the final blow where we thought it was going to get approved to be relocated within the city of Kalamazoo, and kind of a final blow was put to that allowed that not to happen. But these buildings have been demolished. I also would like to mention, as you're looking along the street front, one of the things that we were able to do with the first phase that we'll also do in the second phase is create new street parking and landscape islands along the street. So that engages, of course, the street by allowing cars. It quiets traffic, and this type of engagement with both the parking and the landscaping will also be happening up along Park Street. And we think that's really going to start to kind of change the feel a little bit, make Park Street feel a little bit more pedestrian, and hopefully slow traffic a little bit at the same time. So we're excited about doing some of those things. The other thing that has been appreciated is, of course, a part of the support of the BRA is the Snowmelt System, which is on the sidewalks. So all these sidewalks are now part of really the city of Kalamazoo Snowmelt System, and we'll be extending that with this new phase. The other thing I just wanted to point out just briefly, part of our LEED Gold status, which we're looking to achieve, as Jamie mentioned, are these green roofs. And they actually are absolutely gorgeous. If you could walk up one of these stairways and look at this out the second or third floor, anytime this summer or fall, it really does a great job of breaking up the parking, and it's just aesthetically pleasing, as well as promotes good environmental activities as well. So we're very excited about being able to introduce that into the second phase as well. Just kind of jumping down into the actual site plan itself. Jamie mentioned the structured parking. The important thing that structured parking allows us to do, and it's the main portion of the eligible activities, of course, is it allows us to achieve this density that we're trying to get into downtown Kalamazoo. We think that the density of people is good for the downtown, that it helps support our local businesses, which right now are challenged, especially the retailers. But the more people that are downtown, the better these retailers can perform. And we know that they've been struggling, but as they've been struggling during this whole COVID time, we have been leasing up the other building. And we look forward to being able to add to that density and hopefully the vitality of downtown by incorporating more people into the downtown. The interesting thing about this project is, as I mentioned, with the underground parking, we actually make use of the existing underground parking that is there, in that we're going to connect here in this dotted red line, the underground parking from the first phase to the second phase. So we use the same up and down ramp, which generates efficiencies as well. You're able to go in actually under the first building, and then this dotted red line underneath the building, and this area up here is all underground parking. Jamie mentioned we are going for LEED Gold again. We have 101 units in this phase. There were 135 in the previous phase, combination of studios 1s and 2s with the 10% workforce housing, as was mentioned. We also have worked with the tree committee, and we'll need to remove a few trees to make our construction happen, but we'll be adding more better trees, and a lot of them. So we're looking forward to that as well, and are planning to be planting those both on our site, but also across the street potentially on the south side of Cedar. So we're looking forward to increasing the city streetscape as it relates to street trees as well. Finally, a couple things of note. We have seen a great demand for recycling amongst our tenants. And so that's why we have a large recycling and trash center on site. We're literally using, by the time we get our utilities in and out of this, we're using every single inch of this property. This green spot up here north of the drive to our parking lot is a dog park, which already exists, but this phase will use it as well. And then this building right here is actually bike storage. We did that in the first phase, and we have a building that's dedicated to bike storage, and that building is full. So we're looking forward to providing bike storage for our residents as well, so they can take advantage of alternative means of transportation. Finally, I'll say there are a few small details in regards to locations of steps and walkways that we're just finalizing with the city, last little tweaks to this. But other than that, I would say we're about 98% locked in with this as you see it. And with that, I'd be happy to allow Rich or Kurt to mention anything that I missed or answer questions.
Thanks, Greg. This is Kurt. There's a picture in my background screen of that green roof that you mentioned. You can kind of see that a little bit more from the perspective of, I believe it's on the second floor. And also we did go through a process before those 3 houses were taken down on Park Street. We did salvage them out. So the windows, the doors, a lot of the materials from those houses were reused and recycled. So thank you.
Director Bolton, I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Director Brown.
Hey guys, I'm not a seer. I can't see into the future, but I'm always worried, when I see new parking garages, knowing that hopefully in the future we get away from, I think fewer and fewer of us probably have automobiles. Will you be able to take this plan and maybe even make the parking into something else, or more units or something? Probably not more units because it's underground, but just thinking down the road, maybe not now, but in 10 years, people are thinking that there's going to be a heck of a lot fewer cars on the road. Have you guys thought of that?
We've had those discussions because it's a real challenge, because I think we agree long term transportation is changing. At the same time, we honestly have significant demand for parking right now, and so we're a little bit saddled with having to deal with that. And long term, of course, those structures are built like bomb shelters. So there's a lot of different things that we could do with them. I have seen housing, in fact, watched a special on housing in a bomb shelter, but so it might be possible. It's certainly one of the safest places to be in Kalamazoo, if there were ever a tornado or anything like that. So we haven't planned these to be convertible per se, but we do realize that that's one of the risks that we take on, but we feel it's an acceptable risk at this point.
You got it.
Director Bolton.
Yes, go ahead, Director Hess.
This probably be for Rich or Kurt. How have you guys seen leasing going? And I know it's been a challenging time, obviously, since you guys have been open, but how has leasing gone in phase 1? And what's the projection for time frame for phase 2?
Good morning, everybody. This is Rich McDonald with Hinman Company, and thank you for the question. Leasing has been going well. If we kind of think back to how this all started, we opened on March 1st. So, right when everything was, just kind of getting started with COVID, the community was really designed and developed around engagement. And, unfortunately, we don't feel like we've been able to put our full best foot forward yet because of, safety concerns and restrictions but we're eager to. I think everybody that lives there, and we actually did a recent survey about doing some engagement via Zoom and other things, and everybody was like, we don't want more Zoom, we want more in person. We're all ready for that. But we have a really a top-notch leasing and management team, and they have done an absolutely phenomenal job. And it's really about the home, creating this home and this environment where the relationships that we try to develop with them and have other residents develop with each other. We're creating this community, and although it's been tough, we've been making some great progress. On the leasing front, we have, as of today, we are 98% leased in phase one. And that kind of ebbs and flows with different times of the year. We do have, this is our initial lease up, so we're now starting to look a little bit further out with renewals. We do have a handful of residents because of COVID that work for some of our larger employers where, they moved into town and with the intent of being engaged in an office, and some of those companies have created policies where they can really live anywhere in the world and work from home. So we have about 10 residents that kind of have fit into that category that are probably going to be leaving the community. So again, we have these kind of pluses and minuses, but I think overall leasing has been going very well, which is I guess going way back to earlier discussions when we were planning phase one, and we were talking with city leadership, there was some excitement and enthusiasm around this. And I think we'd made the commitment that, as developers, we don't just hold land to hold the land. I mean, we want to develop, these opportunities as soon as there's, a market for it. And so I think, some of the additional investments we made probably in the last 3 or 4 months of construction in phase one to really help drive interest and drive the amenities so that leasing could be the most successful, really put us in that position to start planning early. So I think our goal for starting construction, given all the various approvals for phase two, would be somewhere around April or May.
Are there any additional questions?
Yes, Director Bolton, I do. I have a question and then a comment. My question is for the rents. I know you all listed 91 market rate and 10 workforce. Can you please be specific with what those dollar amounts for rent would be, or at least the range?
Yeah, I'm going to have.
You need to look those up, Rich.
Yeah, I'm going to have. So
I can. Why don't I'll give the overview if you want to see if you can find the actual numbers.
Greg, could we stop screen share?
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Apologize for that. As soon as I find the button to let me.
Yeah, maybe it might be at the very top of your screen. It'll be red. And
I'll find it momentarily.
Yeah, I think some of your,
oh, here it is. I'm working off 2 screens, so that's why. Here we go. Am I stopped sharing?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
apologies. I have 2 screens, so I had you all big on my screen. So with the workforce housing, the plan that we worked out with the city was to divide the those 10 units into 120% of AMI, 100% of AMI, and 80% of AMI. And then there was also a required ratio of how many of those needed to be, 2 bedrooms versus 1 bedrooms versus studios, which are the 3 types that we have. And I don't know, Rich, if you have actual rates. You're on mute.
You're muted, bud.
I'm trying to switch between screens here. Yeah, so so I'd say the lowest rate is around $971 a month, and that includes parking. And then the market rates will go up to potentially $2,500 for one of the larger 2-bedroom units. But the workforce housing units, as Greg was mentioning, those are set and established by the MISHDA rent and income limits reports that come out and get published every April. And so we'll be following what those rent by bedroom items are for those income categories.
Okay, thank you. And my comments are, I think the building is beautiful, and I am glad that there are thoughts going into environmental with respects to recycling and having the green on the top. And then the overall aesthetic, I don't think there's any denying that the building is beautiful and adding to the downtown. I think my comments are overall, we have these projects, and while we do absolutely need housing in our community, it's just interesting how thoughtful things go, because I understand we have MISHDA, and I understand we have the very bottom lines, but what looks good in dollars and cents versus what is beneficial for the overall community, sometimes there can be a disconnect for that. And so I really look forward to, as we move through and have these projects come through, that we're really thoughtful about the community as a whole. And so I do appreciate that you all made efforts for the 3 homeowners, or for those 3 homes that were there, but I can't get it out of my mind that while we are landlocked, we need more home ownership opportunities. And so I just had to make sure I said that comment there. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that I think the building is beautiful, and I think that you all did put a lot of thought into it. But as a whole, I would like to see our community move into a different direction.
Can I respond just quickly? So first of all, your comments are very well taken. I agree with them. And, I think that we need to look at our continuum of housing. And Rich and I are both on committees kind of focused on doing that, and we'll continue to do that. So I appreciate your comments, and that is in our minds.
Thank you.
Director Owens, request permission. Yeah, thank you. I love everything about this development. I love how you took the neighborhood and made a really lovely and elegant transition from the central business district to the neighborhood. I think that was one of your very intentional processes when you were designing this project. That's important. It really is. And your sensitivity to that it has not gone unnoticed. Really appreciate it. I do have one question. I was looking at this property, a zillion years ago, and trying to figure out how we could do our best. And the church that's located on the block had a lot of concerns about parking. And I wonder if you could address that query. I'm curious. are you working with the church for parking, or were they able to go someplace else to get that? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And we have a really, I would say, a really good relationship with St. Luke's. In fact, Kurt and I just had a Zoom call with Father Warren just last week. You know, we touch base. You know, parking early on was a concern of theirs, and I think we. You know, there isn't an easy solution when you're in a downtown environment, and especially when you have, you know, like the church does, they have large groups that come at different points in times that aren't always, you know, how they manage funerals and other things, which don't really have a consistent schedule. It's really difficult to try to do so. But we have been in constant communication. We found numerous win-wins for each other. They had some desires to how they access their building and how they where they put their trash receptacles, and we had a need to and an interest in providing the dog run that Greg showed earlier. So we actually did a land swap with them, and you know, helped out with some of the improvements. So you know, specifically related to the parking, I think that they, you know, with over time, I think some of that's kind of solved itself. You know, certainly with COVID, it's hard to know for sure though, because just large numbers aren't going to churches right now and haven't been. But we'll continue to be. We have some additional lots around the area, and we can just you know, continue to monitor it. And I think the other thing that we're doing as part of the parking solution, you know, and which is helpful with the support of the BRA is adding the on-street parking. You know, the number of spaces that have been added on Lovell Street, Cedar Street, and Rose Street as well. So all in all, the relationship is very good, and we continue to be in discussions with them.
I appreciate that answer, Rich, and thank you for continuing to keep in touch with them. It's a really cool part of town that you're making cooler. Just to want to make, you know, we want to make sure that we're not creating a problem.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
I personally think one of the greatest views that we have out of our units is a corner unit that's on Lovell Street, and it overlooks the front lawn of the church and some of the beautiful trees that they have, and then you can look across the street and see the backside of City Hall and the flag flying in the background. I mean, it's really it's a great location and a great neighbor for sure.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I have just one more comment.
Okay.
And I'd be remiss without, you know, without saying that, you know, this, I really want to thank AVB and Hinman. You know, betting on and investing in our city shouldn't be, it's not a given. We appreciate you have other places you can invest your money. Really appreciate you guys taking a chance on Kalamazoo. And I think, you know, with the arena coming and how we're all situating our different properties in the city, we have the Central District. We now have a pretty vibrant river district, and now we got the West Side going. And I'm really excited, and I really appreciate you guys investing your time and money in Kalamazoo.
Thank you, Director Brown. This is the public hearing portion. So at this point,
I have a comment.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Director.
I am a huge advocate for affordable housing, so that's always been my thing. But I would say this, as a kid from Union, New Jersey, I do love the density and the aspect of that. This is going to be able to retain people my age who are fleeing from this area, who graduate from this university. As I always ask people, like, why are you leaving? Because there's no cool enough housing for me to stay downtown that's attractive. And I think they're building that. And we keep seeing those things built. But I think affordable housing has to be addressed. But their mentorship in that area of building and construction has been major for me and will be for others. So I want to make sure that those things are echoed, that they're not just, building buildings, but they're also mentoring individuals to make them better so that they can build. So thank you, AVB.
Thank you, Director Bogan. And I agree, we always need to keep affordable housing in our foresight. Thank you again. Again, this is the public hearing portion. So at this point, are there any public comments? Or this is the public hearing, excuse me, public comment period?
No public comments at this time.
Are there any additional board comments, or at this time it would be board discussion? Is there any additional discussion that?
I would just echo what others have already said. First, I'd commend your green building practices. I think that's very important, but just commend you on the aesthetic beauty of the building, this style of construction, and 5/1, or I guess a 4/1 in this situation. The efficiencies of that type of construction can make it look cookie cutter, but these are really beautiful buildings that I think are going to age well with our city. So thank you for putting that effort into making this really fit in with the landscape.
Thank you, Director Middleton. Any additional comments or discussion? Seeing there is none, at this point, we would need to close the public hearing. At this point, the public hearing has been closed. And we will move on to item 3, which is the adoption of a resolution approving implementation of the 400 Rose Phase 2 Brownfield Plan for the redevelopment project located at 423, 427, and 429 South Park Street and 314 and 234 West Cedar Street. And recommending the City Commission adopt a Brownfield plan. So at this time, I would like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. I would believe we've had discussion. Any additional discussion? If not, this will be a roll call vote.
Okay. Bolton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Escamilla,
Yes.
Gula. We may have lost Kyle.
Kyle.
Hess,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Novotny,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes, and thank you.
Bogan,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then number 4 is also approval of a development agreement between 234 West Cedar LLC and Park at Cedar LLC developer and Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment project at 400 Rose Phase 2. Again, I would be entertaining a motion at this point.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Again, this will be another roll call vote.
Bolton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Escamilla,
Yes.
Gula, Hess,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Novotny,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again for the presentations. We will now move on to item 5, which is approval of a grant proposal to the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, known as EAGLE, for environmental due care activities at 315 East Frank Street, and authorize staff to submit on behalf of the BRA. Jamie, do you have a presentation or?
Yes, I want to be cognizant of our time. We have about 25 minutes left, and I want to make sure we have enough board members who can be here to vote on the last 2 actions on the agenda. I want to first layout sort of process, and then we'll talk a little bit about the project more specifically. So this is a project that I think everybody's becoming quite familiar with. The BRA signed a purchase agreement with Bogan Developments last fall for the sale of the property at 315 East Frank Street, which has a very long industrial history, a lot of industrial uses. And I know that Jamari and his consultant will talk about those in a moment. But the Brownfield Authority has owned this property for over 10 years. It was a combination of parcels conveyed to the Brownfield Authority through tax foreclosure. And the Brownfield Authority invested dollars into the demolition of quite a few buildings and the asbestos abatement and lead abatement and other work that went into that. And so the proposal moving forward, staff is working with Jamari on a brownfield plan. So we're hoping to be able to bring that forward to you in the next month or two. And oftentimes in combination with that, we will, as a board or a staff, seek from the board support for a grant application to EGLE, so that's the state's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. We have the state has some uncertainty right now about what grant dollars will be available, but at this time, it sounds like Jamari does want to move forward with the step one application. So the step one application is just a project proposal that has to come from a municipality or an authority like the Brownfield Authority. And it gets vetted through our local district, and then the project and the BRA may be invited to put in a full grant application in the next couple of months. And so this would be, again, step one. If we're to move to step two, we'll be bringing that back to the board. If anything changes, if this were to go from grant to loan or something like that, those terms would all be negotiated as part of the development agreement and brownfield plan. So those two things are linked. But this is just really early stage to get the project details to EGLE to see if it's a project they'd be interested in entertaining for grant or loan dollars. And with that, I will let Jamari and Eric provide a little bit more information about, I think maybe specifically the board would like to hear about kind of what are the costs, what would this grant and these dollars help cover for this project in particular.
Good morning, Jamari, developer, CEO, Bogan Developments. I'm always going to give you the vision, and Eric's going to speak towards the challenges that we're facing with the environmental. But first, I want to go back to our EDC meeting and address Emily and say thank you for your comments. Our city BRA, our city staff, and other local partners are working to help change the narrative with my development at East Frank Street, which will become home for families and will provide education to children. I heard you, I'm with you, and we're going to figure out a solution with this project and projects moving forward. But I'm excited because I started this journey last year, January 21st, 2020, and we stand here January 21st, 2021, with a great opportunity still at hand and moving forward. 315 East Frank Street will, in the first phase, of course, will be 4 duplexes, creating 8 units, 4 affordable, 4 market rate, and it'll be a commercial mixed-use space with a children's development center and the owner's unit. This project will increase educational outcomes and allow kids to become curious about what they can be. As we all know, we can't be what we don't see. And also this piece of land has been off the tax rolls for years, and now we'll be able to ensure investment back into the community. And so I'm excited about what's taking place. It's been a year journey, and we're still going strong. I have some elite partners, as I've talked about before. And Eric, can you talk about the environmental challenges that we're facing here on East Frank Street?
Absolutely, and I'll jump in here. And so Jamari's got a great project, as he indicated. We've got a piece of property in an area that's been targeted for redevelopment. And part of that reasoning is because of the history we've talked about. The phase 1 assessment that we did for Mr. Bogan shows us industrial history. And it's an interesting parcel, actually, because it's kind of a north-south, a long lot now. The history kind of varies as you look from the north to the south of the property. We had manufacturing on the north end of the property with J.A. Richards, with printing equipment, dating back to the early 1920s to 40s. On the south side of the property, dating back to the early 1900s, we have coal yard storage. additional chemical manufacturing use, abrasive sales. So we have a lot of industrial history here. I think our experience has been with EnviroLogic working in this area, independent of this property, but a lot of the properties we see in here. In addition to the specific concerns with the history of manufacturing or any given occupant, we also have kind of a generalized concern for what we call urban fill. It was not an uncommon practice through broad portions of town to raise elevation using whatever material you could get your hands on to get the grade up. And what that has resulted in a lot of these types of properties, we see fill material consisting of glass, brick, slag, things not only that have contamination in it, but also represent a challenge for construction and going forward. It doesn't have the compactability and some of the geotechnical characteristics that we need to support construction. So when we looked at the history, we had red flags regarding potential for environmental contamination, and assessment was done. We installed borings north to south across the property. And what we saw was the presence of this urban fill, this material varying in depths from a couple of feet, frankly, all the way up to almost 8 feet of fill on the south end of the property. This fill material has elevated concentrations of metals at most all locations, and at select locations, we're also seeing different types of contaminants, volatile-based contaminants, as well as semi-volatile contaminants. And as you're aware, when we look at projects, it's a very straightforward process to get the liability protection to not worry about having to clean that up from a remedial perspective. But the driver on these projects often is the due care. How do we redevelop the site in a safe way that addresses the historic contaminant conditions, the legacy conditions on the property? So from our perspective, we start looking at what's the vision for the property, what are the contaminant conditions, and what are those challenges? And that kind of, for us, ends up looking like exposure pathways. How might some unacceptable health exposure occur under future use of the property? The driver for that, often when we're taking a property from commercial industrial to full residential, can be direct contact. You know, we have folks coming into direct contact with impacted soils and materials, and how do we manage that? And then as we are unfortunately well aware, we see a big driver from the regulatory world right now with vapor intrusion. As a Brownfield board, I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of vapor intrusion. Very briefly, if folks are familiar with radon and radon mitigation in a residential setting, the concern being that volatile contaminants can off-gas and enter a structure and result in unacceptable indoor air qualities. So when we look at the data generated from the sampling, and we see that we've got contaminants in shallow soil that exceed direct contact for a residential setting, which creates a concern for landscape green space areas on the property. And we also have both petroleum-based contaminants and metal mercury in soil in excess of guidance levels from the state for vapor intrusion. So as we look at the contaminant conditions in the history, the driver for the challenge on the redevelopment was making sure we don't have direct contact exposures going forward, and making sure that the new construction does not have a potential for unacceptable health exposures for vapor intrusion. So as we pivot towards our proposal here and the specific activities, the challenges we need to overcome with this Eagle grant would be primarily management of soil. That includes both from a geotechnical perspective, getting rid of soils that aren't suitable for construction within the footprint of our buildings. We've got 2 duplex buildings and a community center going in here. And from a geotechnical perspective, that material is not suitable for construction. Beyond the footprint of the buildings and green space landscape areas, we will be putting down a geotextile fabric or a membrane as a visual cue, and overtopping that with clean fill material, essentially capping the site in green spaced areas as a barrier to prevent direct contact with shallow soils. The next major effort is associated with vapor mitigation systems for new construction. Based on Eagle guidance and the conditions we found on site, the most appropriate path forward with certainty, frankly, based on our experience, has been to integrate fan-assisted vapor mitigation systems to the new construction. So this proposal is requesting funding from Eagle to not only manage soils for the direct contact and the construction through transport and disposal of that material and placing of the capping of the as a contact barrier, but also the design, installation, and performance monitoring through Eagle guidance of vapor mitigation systems for those 3 buildings. So the dollars are really focused on managing soil, capping soil to prevent that exposure, and getting vapor mitigation integrated into the new construction. And that's really where the grant dollars would be focused.
Thank you. I want to add that I think the grant dollars are that 450,000 is a pretty significant part of the overall investment, which Jamari's been saying would probably be around 3 million. So I think this is a really good way for the BRA to lend us some support to the project. And I think it's also well within the range of types of grants that Eagle has awarded both to the BRA and across the state. I think we're just going to have to kind of wait and see a little bit what those grant dollars look like and what the budget looks like for Eagle, but that getting the application in now is an advantage because it kind of gets in the queue and it's ready to be reviewed as soon as they have that budget. Jamari, is there anything you wanted to add? Okay. Thank you, Eric.
Well, are there any questions by the directors at this point?
Hi, Director Owens. Thank you for that. Are you getting the grant from the DEQ that runs through the city to pay for that vapor barrier?
That's the intent of the ask,
Yeah,
is
that's the application.
that be grant funded. Absolutely. I think, as Jamie indicated, and based on some preliminary discussions with Mike Gurney of Eagle, he's kind of the gatekeeper and the in for this. Very favorable initial response from Eagle. It was checking a lot of their boxes, as Jamie indicated. As always, it's a question of what true funding do they have available. I think what we have found in the past is it wouldn't be uncommon for Eagle's response to this proposal to be a potential combination of grant and loan. Obviously, we always want to go after the grant dollars first and maximize that ask to support the project. Then what we find is there may be a little bit of back and forth as Eagle puts together the resources they have, and that may be some combination of grant and loan. And that's where, looking at the Brownfield plan and how that would also support the project comes in. I think first step is let's find out what we can get granted first.
Agreed. So the project at 180 East Water Street got it might have been one of the first ones, the DEQ grant to actually install the vapor barrier there at lot 9. I hope you're pursuing that because it ran through the city, but it was very smooth and it's a great incentive to layer upon the other work that you're doing. So just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this, as you can see, there's a significant investment here, but the conditions represent some challenges, and this can be an important tool to making the whole performa come together.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Jamari and Eric, and thank you, Director Owens. Are there any other comments or questions?
I just wanted to say, Jamari, I'm really happy to see your project continue to move forward here. Really admire your enthusiasm and your ambition. And I think your type of community-minded development here is something that I'm proud to support on the land bank. So congrats and, keep at it. And thanks for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Director Middleton. Any other questions or comments? Seeing there are none, at this point, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the grant proposal to the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for environmental due care activities at 315 East Frank Street, and authorize staff to submit on behalf of the BRA.
Excuse me, Mr. Director Bolton, Chair Bolton, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to reiterate our conflicts of interest policy that Director Bogan, prior to his vote, has to abstain from the discussion area, and also abstain for voting. Per my memo, he doesn't have to leave the meeting per se, but he also has to give what his conflict is, which we all know what it is because he presented on it. So that, but just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Cherry. That was a very good point to make.
And so to confirm, should he now state again that he needs to abstain, or when his name is called in the roll?
Yeah, just for record purposes, okay. Just you know, just give his conflict and abstain for the vote. So,
Mr. Cherry, if I could, too, our firm has been assisting Jamari along the way, and really happy to be doing that. But at the same time, I think I should be abstaining from this or any following votes as well. I just wanted to disclose that.
Thank you.
So I think we still have a quorum, correct? I think we were okay. Good.
Hang on. Sorry. This is Jim Escamilla. I am the Impact Investment Chair for the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, and also a trustee of the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, which he's asking for a significant number of dollars to make this deal go through. I'll just put it up to you whether or not I need to abstain or not, but I'm just letting you know.
Okay, you're on a chair that you're asking, they're asking for dollars, correct?
Correct.
Or on a board. Your company.
Board and a chair.
Okay, board and chair. You're not asking.
I'm on the foundation board.
Okay.
I'm the chair of the Impact Investment Committee that is asking for money. So either way, it's going to come to the foundation.
Okay. So I will just say this. It doesn't impact you financially, personally, correct? No. Okay. So, and your business is not involved. So I would say that there's no conflict there.
I concur.
I appreciate our directors being so forthcoming with potential conflicts. We want to have the most transparent processes. And I appreciate that even if it didn't end up being a conflict, I think it's really important that we are completely transparent. So thank you, Director Escamilla.
I agree, Director Owens, thank you. So the motion has been made and approved. Excuse me, second. So at this point, the roll call vote.
Director Bolton, Chair Bolton, I didn't get the motion or the support. Can I?
I'll do the motion.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. I get a little ahead of myself again. So now, if we may have the roll call vote.
I can let you do this one by voice vote if you'd like.
Okay. That being said, all in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion has carried.
I actually, now that Deputy City Attorney Cherry mentioned the abstaining.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to click in there. So.
Okay.
I apologize.
Do we need a roll call?
Let's go ahead with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So we will go with roll call.
Starting with you, Director Bolton.
Yes.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Director Escamilla.
Yes.
Director Hess.
Yes.
Director Griffin.
Yes.
Director Novotny.
Abstain.
Director Owens.
Yes.
Director Bogan.
Abstain.
And Director Middleton.
Yes.
Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you.
How'd we do? Do we get a quorum?
Yeah.
Yes, that passes. And then we'll have a similar situation with this last item. We may not have any direct conflicts, but I know there's some folks who want to mention something, so that I don't forget.
So moving on to that item, which is number 6, acceptance of a bid proposal for Brownfield Consulting Services and authorization for staff to finalize a contract for service as described in the request for qualifications for a sum not to exceed $75,000 and authorize the department director to sign. So let's start first with is there any information you'd like to provide before?
Yes, so I sent out a memo yesterday at the end of the day. I appreciate everybody's cooperation with a very quick turnaround. Overall, the BRA and staff put out a request for proposal with help from the city's purchasing division. We put that out in November, and then sealed bids. We received 9 sealed bids on December 10, which were opened and tabulated by purchasing division per city policy. And then staff took a look at those, reviewed those, and we established a scoring rubric for all of the 9 firms. We presented those, staff presented those to the BRA's executive committee last Thursday at their monthly meeting. And we had some folks from that committee come together with staff and do interviews to the 2 top scoring firms. Both were local firms. We had a lot of very high quality and very qualified consulting firms. Per the city's purchasing policies, we certainly award more points to local contractors. And also in this case, we felt like there was value in a consultant really understanding and being familiar with the development and the community here in Kalamazoo. So that was something that also provided more points. And through that interview, the committee unanimously decided to present to you all today a recommendation to accept the bid from Envirologic. So they're here in Kalamazoo. They have lots of experience providing these kind of services specifically to municipalities and authorities. And if you recall, this is the kind of services that Southwest Michigan First and Joe Augustinelli used to provide us. And so we're really excited to have another local firm with lots of experience step in and be able to provide that same level of service. The types of services that will work with purchasing to get into the contract will match the RFQ. And the amount will be a not to exceed value of $75,000, which was approved by the BRA in your annual budget. So this would be a time and materials contract. So they'll submit to us regular invoices and we'll pay for their actual time and costs incurred. And that's where you get that not to exceed annual amount of $75,000. It will have to go through the proper channels for city purchasing. And so I don't have the details right in front of me. We may be able to allow the director, but also in the way the motion is written, it would be her designee if we need to have like a city manager level approval of this contract. And then I also want to say, while we didn't ask it, and I regret that we didn't ask it directly in our proposal or request for qualifications, and I know we will be able to incorporate this in the future, we did in our interviews ask specifically about the firm's different diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within their organizations, within their corporations, knowing that that's such a focus of the city and that was an important element for us to understand for a firm that the board would be hiring. And we're really pleased with the work that Envirologic has been doing. They sent us a statement, and I'll share that with you, on diversity, equity, inclusion. I think it's notable that they also have endowed a scholarship at Western Michigan University directly for students working in or trying to obtain a degree in the sciences and the geological sciences in this case, but that's certainly an area where we lack inclusivity of lots of different groups of people. We've certainly heard about sciences and STEM seeking and trying to encourage more women to apply. And so the scholarship is designed for first-generation college students who have overcome obstacles such as socioeconomic and educational disadvantages or disabilities, or members of groups underrepresented at Western Michigan University in the sciences. And then, like I said, I'll also forward on this statement. They have some other vision, mission type goals related to this within their organization. And I don't have them here present. I wanted to be able to put this in front of the board for your acceptance. I did let them know that this proposal was coming forth and that I'd let them know about the outcome. So thank you.
Are there any questions?
Nate?
Yes, Director.
Thank you so much. I don't have any questions, but I would like to note that Envirologic established a scholarship program at Western 10 years ago to encourage and nurture students who are non-traditional and, you know, not your normal kid that's going to college, with the express intent of developing this STEM feeding tube into the industries within Kalamazoo. So I'm really proud of them for doing that. Before anybody was saying anything, they made the move to, they tried. They didn't have the diversification applying and working within their industry. And so they went out and said, we're just going to build it. And they established the scholarship program for underrepresented people. And I love that part of it. I mean, they do really good work, but I love that community focused, continuous improvement. We need to be all inclusive, and to their credit, that made a lot of points with me. In addition to the fact that I've worked with them on numerous projects over the years, I've also worked with the other firms that applied and made the short list, but I'm really proud of them for being such community cheerleaders and wanting to be all inclusive. Our community is like nobody else's community. And it's really heartening to know that they've been thinking about this for over 10 years. So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Owens. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I do have brief comments, and I'm going to wrap all my comments into one because I have to jump off, unfortunately. But I wanted to thank everyone who did the work to bring this corporation to us. So thank you for all of that. And when I was looking at their diversity and equity inclusion, that did stand out. I do want to say one thing though. It does stand out to me when any sort of corporation or organization has a diversity, equity, and inclusion program, but their staff isn't very diverse. It makes me wonder who's running the program and how deep are you getting into equity if the people that are making decisions, if they are not so diverse. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and also acknowledge Emily's comment, as Director Bogan did as well. I think being mindful of these situations, having projects coming through, such as Gwendolyn Hooker, such as Director Bogan's and others, I think that will lend us to being an anti-racist organization throughout, and not just at the city level, but in all boards and commissions. So thank you. And my vote is for this. My vote is yes, and I'm going to be jumping off.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Griffin. Thank you.
Could I talk one more time?
Sure.
I think that we all have to start somewhere. Yeah. And we're doing it. That's all. We're not going to be perfect, but we have to start somewhere. We're doing it.
Thank you, Director Owens.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Kyle's not on the call. Director Gualo's not on the call. He did send me a question or two to ask staff. One was, what are our measures of success for the position as a board? So we're hiring somebody to replace Director Augustinelli. And he also said, we recognize that there's always more work to do, and filling this position is essential. But how do we know we're doing the right work? Those are his two questions that he wanted to share in the meeting. But in Biologic, I have a yes also. They do elite work and they've been a great partner.
Rich, that brings up the question that some of the board members had. If they've hired in Biologic in the past or currently hire them on projects, but aren't hired by them and paid by them, is that a conflict that they need to mention? And does it? How do you
No, I mean, it's worth mentioning that you've done work with them, but I would say that it's still, you're not directly benefiting from them being hired as a consultant. So, yeah, so I would just say that.
Thank you.
I have to jump off too, but I do vote for this group. Is that okay? Or do I need to?
Well, can we real quick and do the motion second and vote for it? So
Sure.
I'd like to move.
Rich, you've been late for other stuff.
I am awful, by the way. So I really appreciate you guys putting up with me.
So if I can move forward with the motion to accept the bid proposal for Brownfield Consulting Services and authorize staff to finalize a contract for services as described in the RFQ for a sum not to exceed $75,000 and authorize the department director or designee to sign.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Now a voice call of all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That has moved. Now
I can go.
Need to make comments about. So I'll try to move through the rest also. So is there any old business?
No old business that I'm aware of.
Communication and announcements? Staff updates?
The sun is shining.
Any staff updates?
Just real quick, see if she's still on here. Melanie Dakin, I'm not sure if everyone knows Melanie. I think she's been, presented to everyone, but she's our new neighborhood business specialist that's working with me in economic development to work with business assistants for the city of Kalamazoo. So if you haven't met her, hopefully you'll meet her soon. I just want to make sure if everyone has not met her that she was introduced today.
Welcome, Melody.
Welcome,
Thank
Melody.
you.
Welcome, Melody.
I just talked to Kyle. I got to know Kyle yesterday. So if any of you want to reach out, I'd love to do a one-on-one just to get to know you and share a little bit about our programs and stuff. Looking forward to connecting with you all instead of just on a screen.
I think Jamori could help you with setting that up. When he first came on the board, he made a very intentional effort to meet with everybody. And I think that he would be a really good mentor for you in that pursuit.
Great. I'll reach out to him. Hey, Jamari.
Oh.
He'll probably reach out to you.
Let's go. Let's go.
Any other staff updates? No. Are there any citizen comments?
No citizen comments at this time.
I will say that Emily's comment was directed to the BRA, though we heard it under the EDC's meeting. So at this point, probably should mention the fact that it was directed. She did say BRA, and to Director Owen's point, we continue to work on it. But obviously, things like affordable housing, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and home ownership are things that I believe we need to continue to keep in front of us. And I think we're doing a good job with making sure that we are mentioning it and keeping it in our focus. So thank you, Emily. I'm not sure if you're listening, but if not, thank you for your comments, and we will continue to try to uphold our part with that. Are there any directors' comments?
It takes a village.
Chair Bolton.
I actually also, PPP loans are in their second phase. So if you know small businesses, I would encourage you to encourage them to pursue that avenue also. If there's nothing else, I would like to go ahead. I'm sorry, Director Hess. Go ahead.
I just want to say that I am very encouraged by the types of developments that are going on, the dollars that are still coming in, even in a challenged time. It just shows that Kalamazoo is still a very safe bet, and it gives me hope for the future going forward as we start to get back to normal. But also the type, the diversity of types of developers that we have going on right now, and I commend Jamari, I commend Gwen. But you also still need the AVBs and the Hinmans and the Plaza Cores. But it's just really encouraging to see that we have a diverse set of developers that are doing projects here. And that goes back to, Emily's comments that were made. And I do think the BRA has been very intentional with their board and in recruiting members and providing incentives policies to help, more diverse developers come into Kalamazoo. So I just want to say that, yes, we are being very intentional about that. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done so far. But I know there's a long way to go. But like Patty said, we have to start somewhere. So thank you to everybody, especially staff involved here. We've really enjoyed seeing your work come to fruition here.
Well said, Director Hess, and thank you. Any other directors' comments? I'd like to thank, I know this has been a very long 2 meetings today, and thank you for your commitment of time. And we are officially adjourned. Thank you again.
Thanks.